In our last video, we defined these terms. We talked about direct materials, direct labor, and overhead, and we said those combine to make our product costs. We talked about selling and administrative expenses. We said those combine to make period costs. In this video, we're just going to talk about some other cost terminology, and then in our subsequent videos, we'll learn how to prepare a schedule of costs of goods manufactured. We'll really need to test ourselves as to those 5 definitions on screen. So the terms I want to discuss, and I'll discuss them all briefly, are variable cost, fixed cost, opportunity cost, differential cost, incremental cost, and marginal cost. So let's start with variable versus fixed. A variable cost is a cost that changes for every additional unit I make. So for example, if I'm thinking of my hamburger business, if I make one burger, I have, and this is going back to the previous video, I have $1 worth of meat, right? So let's say one burger. So this is number of burgers, and this is cost on this. One burger costs $1 of meat. If I make 2 burgers, I spend $2 on meat. 3 burgers, $3 on meat. And so if I'm to graph that, it's going to look like this. And 0 burgers, $0 of meat. This is the meat cost, and this is a variable cost. One more burger means $1 more of meat. One less burger means $1 less I need to spend on meat. This is a pure variable cost. A pure fixed cost is one where the cost doesn't change no matter how much or how little I produce. So let's say my property taxes are $500 or $1,000 a year. So we're kind of, our scale is getting screwed up here, but let's assume this goes up to 1,000. Our property tax, doesn't matter if I make 0 burgers or if I make 10,000 burgers, my property taxes are still going to be $1,000. It's not like the government, the local government here that charges property taxes, comes down to my business and says, hey, how many burgers did you make? No, they don't care. They know based on the size of my property, I need to pay $1,000 in property tax. That's my property tax. That is a fixed cost. We see other examples of costs, so variable and fixed. Some costs are called mixed costs, so it starts at a fixed level, but then it's a variable cost above it. In the old days, actually my phone plan works this way. I have a pay-as-you-go plan. I pay $15 a month to have the phone on, and then I pay per minute afterwards. And I don't use a lot of minutes. I don't use a lot of data. So for example, it's $15 is the minimum I'd pay if I don't use it at all. But then for every, let's just talk voice, not worry about data and text. For every voice minute I use after it, it goes up a little bit. So, let's just say I pay, 10 cents a minute. So if I use 10 minutes, I would pay $16. If I use 20 minutes, I would pay $17, and so on. And so this is my phone plan cost. Now, a lot of people have fixed costs, but even still, if you go over a certain level, you end up paying. Okay, so we call this type of cost, one that doesn't start at 0 but isn't fixed, we call this type of cost a mixed cost because it's a bit variable and a bit fixed. Let's move on to our other 4 cost concepts here. Opportunity cost is the cost of giving something good up. So it's sort of the best alternative that you're giving up. That's considered your opportunity cost. A famous example here is, they always talk about, it is a very economic kind of concept. They say a university student has a big opportunity cost in going to university. So you don't only have the cost of paying your tuition, you also have the cost of giving up a bunch of wages. If you worked a full-time job, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and you're getting paid $12 an hour to do it, you're giving up $480 a week. That's, $25,000 a year. So not only is it your cost of university, your tuition, it's also the cost of what you're missing out on. So I always think of opportunity cost as what I'm missing out on, right? The cost of the best option that you've foregone to take the option you took. So you've chosen to go to university. You've chosen to give up on some of those wages. Hopefully the payoff is worth it down the road. They do say, and I know people get disillusioned with universities, they do say that university is absolutely still worth the investment. I have a daughter. She's 2 years old. I fully expect her to go to university, when the time comes, and I fully expect it to be worth it to her. I fully expect it to be worth the opportunity cost. A lot of people will say, oh, what about Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, people who dropped out? Well, if you're on the super duper insane genius side of the spectrum, maybe not. But for the masses, there's no better way to get ahead than university education. I know I'm biased, but I really do firmly believe that. Okay, differential cost. That's where costs differ between alternatives, and we consider the differences in the cost between two alternatives. An example here might be, I'm thinking about dinner tonight. I'm thinking about either going to McDonald's or Wendy's. If I go to McDonald's, the burger costs $2 and fries is $1. If I go to Wendy's, the burger costs $2.50 and fries is $1. Well, I shouldn't, if they both make me equally happy, I shouldn't be worried about the fries because the fries are equal cost. The burgers, though, are differential cost, and if I'm cost motivated, McDonald's makes sense. But I don't have to worry about the fries cost. They're the same. What I worry about in analyzing that decision is the costs that are different, the differential costs between the alternatives. So when I'm thinking about making a decision, differential costs come into play, and we'll get into that a lot later on in the course. Incremental cost is the additional cost brought on by choosing one alternative over another. And the final concept, marginal cost. Marginal cost is the additional cost of making one extra unit. So if we make 3 burgers and we want to make a 4th burger, our additional cost, our incremental cost will be the cost of that one extra burger. And of course, my incremental cost in total won't involve any more property tax, right? There's no additional cost to make another burger in terms of property tax. There is incremental meat cost. If I make one extra burger, I got to pay for $1 of extra meat. So those are some other cost terms. In our next video, we're going to walk through a schedule of cost of goods manufactured.